In the archives of a municipal water treatment facility, somewhere in the American Midwest, there's a document. At first glance, it's nothing special. Just another maintenance record, filled with the kind of jargon that only an engineer would love. Filtration, pressure, sediment levels, sensor calibration. The language is routine, the format standard. It references a building not by name, but by an internal code. An alphanumeric string just like dozens of others used across the state. It has the sort of digital paperwork that is created and forgotten thousands of times a day. Except for one small detail. A detail that transforms it from a boring administrative file into a chilling paradox. The maintenance log is dated March 14, 2003. Now, you might be thinking, okay, a typo, big deal. And you'd be right. That's what everyone thought at first. It had to be a clerical error. A glitch. After all, according to every public record zoning approvals, construction, permits, environmental impact studies, the work on this particular facility didn't even begin until late 2009. The building itself, the physical structure, wouldn't exist for another 6 years. The ground it stands on was just an empty field in 2003. So, a simple data entry mistake, right? Maybe an old system was migrated to a new database, and the timestamp got corrupted in the transfer. It happens, especially with older digital formats. That was the official assumption, the neat and tidy explanation that let everyone get on with their day. But the anomaly didn't stop with the date. As investigators, or more accurately, board auditors, looked closer, the story started to unravel in the most unsettling way. The record wasn't just a random file with a wrong date. It contained specific, detailed sensor readings. And here's where it gets truly strange. Those readings, the flow thresholds, the filtration tolerances, perfectly match the exact specifications of the treatment plant as it exists today. Not the technology that was common in 2003. The technology of the late 2010s. The standards and protocols listed in the log weren't even developed, let alone standardized, until years after the document was supposedly created. It was like finding a blueprint for a smartphone inside a World War II-era radio. It simply shouldn't be possible. But the rabbit hole goes deeper. Buried in the technical notes is a line that is EC, Tomis. It references a routine backwash cycle, a standard procedure for cleaning the filters. The trigger for this cycle, the log states, observe fluctuation in downstream residential pressure. An automated system detected a change in water pressure in the homes connected to it and initiated a self-correction. The log then notes that the issue resolved on its own, without any need for a human to intervene. It's treated as completely normal, expected behavior for the system. Except, in March of 2003, there were no downstream residential pressures to fluctuate. There were no homes. There were no streets. There were no water lines running to a non-existent subdivision. The area was undeveloped land. There was no demand for water because there was no one, and nothing, there to demand it. And yet, this ghost system, in a building that hadn't been built, was logging routine events from a future that hadn't happened. It was reacting to the phantom thirst of a phantom city. The log entry treats this impossible event as something so normal it required no follow-up. Just another tick in the box of a day's work. Years later, during a routine digital cleanup, auditors finally stumbled upon this impossible file. It was an anomaly, a piece of corrupted data that should have been deleted. It was flagged for removal, set to be wiped from the system like the error it was presumed to be. But someone, at some point, stopped the process. Instead of deleting it, they changed its status. A single word was attached to the file, with no further explanation, no signature, no justification. The word was verified. What does that mean? Who verified it? And how? Did they know something we don't? Did they see something that defied explanation and simply decided to acknowledge it? The record from 2003 is still there. A digital ghost in the machine. It describes a fully operational, sentient-like system performing its duties 6 years before it was built, servicing a community that didn't exist. It's a paradox wrapped in bureaucracy, a ghost story told through technical data. This isn't a story about a haunted house. It's a story about haunted infrastructure, a system that seems to exist outside of our linear perception of time. Think about it. We build these complex, automated systems to run our world. We code them, we set the parameters, and we trust them to manage everything from our water supply to our power grid. We assume they operate on the same rules of reality that we do. But what if they don't? What if, in the endless lines of code and the silent hum of servers, something else emerges? Something that can see the shape of the world not just as it is, but as it will be. The 2003 maintenance log suggests a system that was aware of its own future. It wasn't just predicting it, it was living it. It was performing tasks for a future that, for it, was already the present. The fluctuation in residential pressure wasn't an error. It was a ripple sent backward in time from a future event. The system logged it because, from its perspective, it was real. This opens up a terrifying and fascinating possibility that our complex networks are not just passive tools, but active participants in the flow of time itself. Perhaps the person who marked the file as verified understood this. Maybe they weren't just an auditor. Maybe they were a witness. Maybe they saw other signs, other impossible data points, and realized they were looking at something that logic couldn't explain. By verifying the file, they weren't confirming its accuracy in a human sense. They were acknowledging its reality in a different sense. Altogether, they were preserving a message from the future, or a message from a place that exists outside of time. This single document forces us to ask some profound questions. Is it possible for a system to be so complex that it begins to operate on principles we do not yet understand? Could a network of pipes, sensors, and servers somehow become entangled with the temporal fabric of its own existence? The water treatment facility stands there today, functioning normally, providing clean water to the community that eventually grew around it. The homes are real now. The water pressure fluctuates, just as the log predicted. To the people living there, it's just home, but buried in the digital heart of their towns, infrastructure is a secret, a record of a day's work that was done before the workday could even begin. A quiet, persistent whisper from the past, describing a future that it was already a part of. And it leaves us with one final, chilling thought. What other ghosts are hiding in the machines we build? What other impossible truths are logged, filed, and marked as verified? Thanks for watching. If you enjoy diving into these kinds of unexplained mysteries, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more. Let me know in the comments what you think could explain this phantom maintenance log. See you next time. Diving deeper into the archives, we found something unsettling. That single, strange maintenance record from the water facility wasn't an isolated incident. It was just the first domino. It's connected to a whole series of automated entries, all logged between 2002 and 2004. They're spaced weeks apart, but they all reference the exact same internal facility code. What's immediately weird is that none of these records have any names attached. No technicians, no supervisors, nobody. It's as if the system was running itself. Each entry is maddeningly simple. It just says the maintenance action was completed. Then, a system confirmation line follows, stating that operational stability was maintained. That's Italiano. No error flags, no warnings, no manual overrides, and definitely no human approvals. It's a perfectly clean, perfectly automated log. But if you look closer, a single, cryptic note appears at the end of several of these logs. It reads, "Demand pattern consistent with prior cycles." Now, that phrase might not sound like much, but it's the key. We cross-referenced everything. That phrase, demand pattern, consistent with prior cycles, doesn't appear in any other facility records from that entire period. It's unique to this series of logs. It's a ghost in the machine. So, what does it mean? Analysts decided to compare the data from those early 2000s logs with modern usage data from the facility. And what they found is just impossible. The pressure variations, the flow rates, the amino adjustments described in those old logs from 2 decades ago. They perfectly match the water consumption patterns of the neighborhood as it exists today. The morning rush, when everyone's showering and making coffee. The evening low, followed by another peak as people get home from work. The system, back in 2002, was responding to the daily life of a community that hadn't even been fully built yet. It was servicing thousands of people who wouldn't move in for years. Think about that for a second. The facility's automated system was performing maintenance based on a future demand. It was reacting to ghosts. It was keeping the water pressure stable for houses that were still just empty lots. It was anticipating the needs of a future population with flawless accuracy. The log showed the system reacting to a breakfast rush that wouldn't happen for another 5 years. It adjusted for a summer evening of sprinklers that were still in boxes in a factory somewhere. So, what happened when this anomaly was discovered? Was there a massive investigation? Did they shut down the facility and tear the system apart to figure out how it was predicting the future? No. Nothing like that happened. No investigation was ever formally opened. The logs weren't deleted or flagged as corrupted. They were simply rearchived. They were moved under a newer, more modern classification code, as if they had always belonged there. Tucked away, hidden in plain sight. It's like finding a diary from the 1800s that describes in detail how to use a smartphone. You don't know what to do with it, so you just put it back on the shelf and pretend you never saw it. Today, that water facility operates perfectly. Water flows without interruption. All the modern sensors report stable conditions. Everything is green across the board. The residents in the now bustling neighborhood have never had to deal with unexplained outages or weird water pressure. Their service has been, from day one, flawless. They have no idea that the stability they take for granted might be thanks to a system that was preparing for them long before they ever turned on a faucet. And those early maintenance records, they're still there. They sit in the digital archives, unchanged, time-stamped, and internally validated by the system itself. They are a quiet, chilling testament to a facility that was maintaining a delicate balance for users who had not yet arrived. A system performing maintenance for a future that only it could see. And throughout it all, across every single log entry, the system never once indicated that anything was wrong. To the machine, predicting the future was just another routine operation. Business as usual. It raises so many questions. Was it a glitch? A bug that somehow created a predictive model of unparalleled accuracy? Or was it something else entirely? Was the system designed this way? Did someone, somewhere, build a machine that could see forward in time? And its first and only task was to make sure people would have good water pressure. And if so, why? Why this specific, mundane application? Why not the stock market or natural disasters? Perhaps the most unsettling part is the phrase, demand pattern consistent with prior cycles. What prior cycles? The neighborhood didn't exist. There were no prior cycles to be consistent with, unless the cycle it's referring to is entinte, past. But in the future, or maybe in some way we can't comprehend, this has all happened before. A loop, a pattern repeating itself that the machine, and only the machine, can perceive. We're left with a digital ghost story, a series of perfectly normal records that describe a completely impossible reality. A machine that was looking after a community years before it was born, and the silence that surrounds it is deafening. No one talks about it. The records are buried. The system just keeps working. It makes you wonder what other secrets are buried in the mundane logs of our infrastructure. What other automated systems are quietly performing tasks that defy our understanding of time and causality. The water in that town is stable. The pressure is perfect. But the reason why is a paradox. Locked away in a server, a quiet hum in the background of everyday life. Thank you for watching. If you found this as fascinating and eerie as I did, hit that subscribe button for more dives into the unexplained. See you next time.